Welcome back to Biblical Questions Answered, Episode 5. Today's question is, what is Genesis, or what is Genesis about? Now, the origin of the word, which I include because it's not a common word in today's vocabulary. It comes from the ancient Greek, and it appropriately means origin, source, or beginning. Now, the authorship of Genesis, who wrote it, is, like most things in it, controversial. I particularly hold that Moses wrote it, and there are many who disagree, but most of it isn't a biblical argument why Moses isn't the author, but instead a secular one. Mostly they don't believe that Moses could have written it, or that even he was a real person, but that's an argument for a different video. Now, the contents of the book of Genesis covers a span of around 1,656 years, and it divides itself into 11 sections by the word toldot, or toledot, or something like that. I think it's toldot, which means descendants, generations, the idea of one thing proceeding from another, or things proceeding from something else. Now, the first section is the prologue, so I'm going to call it the prologue, so it's not confusing. And the prologue contains the first week of creation, the creation week. And could there be some theological reasons why you don't have Toledot at the start? I don't know. There could be a number of things, a number of reasons why, and it does intrigue me. So, yes, that's the first section, the prologue. Now, the first actual section that begins with Toledot is the generations of the heavens and the earth, what proceeded from that, and it begins with a closer look at day 6, and continues on through the fall, through the curse, through Cain and Abel, and Cain's descendants. Now that's an interesting thing that Cain's descendants is included here, because every other offshoot where we have a genealogy is divided in such a way. This is the exception to that, and I am interested into why that would be. Now, the second section is the generations of Adam, which is a genealogy from Adam to Noah, with mostly a genealogy with a few minor details here and there. The third section is the generations of Noah, which covers the build-up to the flood, building the ark, the flood itself, and then a few events that happened afterwards. The next section is the generations of the sons of Noah, which is primarily a genealogy with a short little snippet of narrative consisting of Nimrod and Tower of Babel. Next section, generations of Shem, which is a genealogy, goes from Shem to Terah, I believe, which, interesting enough, the sixth section is the generations of Terah. Now that's an interesting thing, because most people don't really know who Terah is. If you were to ask someone on the street, who's Terah in the Bible, most people wouldn't know. I think the overwhelming amount of people wouldn't know, and he was Abraham's father. So the generations of Terah, that section, covers the entirety of Abraham's life, because Abraham was what proceeded from Terah. The next section, very short section, very tiny section, is the generations of Ishmael. It's like a couple verses, 6 verses, I believe, and it's a tiny section of genealogy. And then it goes right through to the next section, the generations of Isaac, which cover the remainder of Isaac's life, but includes a large portion of Jacob's as well, because it proceeded from Isaac. Then you had the generations of Esau, which is a genealogy, and then the 10th and final section is the generations of Jacob, which really is about Jacob's descendants, what proceeded from Jacob. Now, you can find in Genesis many interesting things. One commentary that I am interested in obtaining is Gary North's commentary on Genesis and economics, called The Dominion Covenant, which if I ever get a Patreon, I will put that down as like, hey, does anybody want to buy this for me? Okay, no, I'm not going to ask. Well, I will ask for your money if you really want the quality of videos that go up. I'll need money. I'm mostly joking. But anyway, yes. Dominion Covenant, Genesis and Economics. It would be a very interesting read for me, because if you can actually show how Scripture determines economic something of value, right? If it actually does teach you about economics, that's a very cool thing. So, I suppose final statement. Genesis is one of the most controversial books of the Bible, being surpassed, at least to my knowledge, only by the book of Revelation. For truly, how you view our past and our future is a major part of how you see the world today. So that was the first video on Genesis. I'm not entirely sure what the next video will be, but it will be something about Genesis. Could be the first verse of Genesis, could be the authorship of Genesis. I will have to get back to you on that. Well, you'll find out when the next video uploads anyway, so see you next time. And if you have any questions, leave one in the comments, and I will actually get back to you. Unless all of a sudden I get like 1,000 comments, and then, well, I don't know if I could really get through them all. Well, goodbye.